Hello, friends, and welcome back to Scaling Stories. Today, I've got some more highly upvoted posts from Best of Redditor updates for you all. Like always, I'll be reading you the posts and giving you my opinions, and I'll also be working on building up my Minecraft world at the same time, so I hope you enjoy. Also, I'm currently only in Spotify's creator program, so watching on there would help me out a ton. Thank you so much for your support. Today's first story comes from the Relationship Advice subreddit. It was posted by ThrowRA12082010 on July 16th, 2021, and was titled, My 31 male, wife, 29 female, recently ran into her ex-boyfriend from high school and it's making me insecure. For context, my wife and I have known each other since middle school. I was in the grade above her. We lived in the same part of a smallish town and our families went to the same church. So it's safe to say we were always bumping into each other growing up. We ran in parallel circles, but we never really shared the same group of friends. During my sophomore year and junior years of high school, we would talk sometimes. I would drive her home every once in a while, and I could tell that she had a small crush on me, but I mostly ignored it. During her junior and my senior year, she started dating the ex this post is about. He was pretty much the opposite of what anyone would have expected her to date at that point, and her personality did a complete 180 pretty soon after they started dating. She stopped hanging out with her old friends, became more outspoken, and ended up skipping her junior prom. I left for college on the other side of the country and came back the next summer to find out that he had broken up with her a couple of weeks before graduation and skipped town afterward, leaving her devastated. I bumped into her at the local ice cream parlor where she was working over the summer for some extra money for college, and we hung out almost every day after that. She never really talked about her ex, and I figured she was mostly over him. About 2 weeks after we first started hanging out, we made out for the first time in the backseat of my car. It ended with her crying and apologizing because she wasn't over her ex. She said that she was still in love with him and didn't think she would ever get over him. At that point, I realized that I was already falling for her and agreed to just be friends. We spent the entire summer together, with me slowly falling in love with her. Our colleges ended up being pretty close to each other, so we would hang out pretty often. We also spent Thanksgiving together. I was pretty sure we would end up together when we went back that winter, but she got a letter from him, explaining everything but with no return address, causing her to spiral again. We ended up getting together the next summer and got married almost 3 years ago. It was going really well until she ran to get milk about 3 weeks ago and bumped into him, completely out of the blue, across the country from our hometown, in our neighborhood. Apparently, he got his life together after leaving his deadbeat dad, went to college, and is now a journalist. My wife currently stays home with our 6-month-old while I work a pretty time-intensive job. She's been spending a lot of time with him lately, and I don't know what to do. Every time she mentions him or things they did, I can't help but feel extremely jealous and insecure, like she still prefers him to me. From whatever little she has told me about their relationship, I know he's the complete opposite of me, and that's what attracted her to him. What should I do? Scaling Stories Corner. I think the simplest answer to a situation like this is to be straight up blunt with your significant other, or at least that's what I would do if I was OP. Because I would be like, hey, I've noticed you've been spending a lot of time with so-and-so lately, and I just wanted to broach the topic because, he's an ex, you used to date him, and you had that period of time where you were spiraling hard over him. And I don't mean to say that you have feelings for him or anything right now. I just wanted to be able to talk to you and get your thoughts on it without seeming like an insecure dude. And then kind of see what she or they would say. And also, I was thinking that this was a high school relationship that OP's wife was in with her old ex of hers. And she's 29 or 30 now, and I think the circumstances are super different. That could have just been her first relationship ever, and she didn't really know what love was. And she spent the past 8 years with OP, and they even have a child now. So the love for OP is most likely so overwhelming compared to her old ex. Or at least that's what I'm hoping for, because we're reading stories on Reddit, so it's we've seen some crazy crap happen. So I hope that's not the case for OP. Now here are some of the top/relevant comments from the original post. Commenter 1 says, "Have you talked to her about that? This will end very quickly, very badly for you, especially since she is already spending lots of time with him. During your relationship, she gave you every reason to believe that she isn't over him, so the thoughts that you have on your mind right now have a reason to be there. Have you ever been invited to hang out with them too? Or is she spending time with him alone? Where do they meet? In public or in secluded/private places? Do you know what they are talking about? How is she acting with her phone? Do you have access to it? Could you ask her to take a look at the conversations they have? OP says they mostly go for walks with the baby and lunch every once in a while. He's been over a couple times, I think. I don't really know what they're talking about, but they've always had a lot of common interests. She's always been very private with her phone, before we ever got together and even with her siblings, parents, or friends. I definitely don't think she's cheating on me, though. Commenter 2 says, the only real advice that I can give you is to let her into your thoughts. Explain to her the situation from your perspective, like you did in your post, and try to make her understand where you are coming from. That this whole setup makes you feel uncomfortable is normal, and if you want to change that, then she needs to know what is going on inside of you. So, sit her down when the baby is asleep, explain your situation to her, and then let her speak. The one thing that you should do before you talk to her is think about what she can actually do to reassure you. What is an acceptable outcome for you, and which one is a no-go? OP says, that's the bit I'm dreading though. I really don't want to have to talk to her about this. I also don't want to control what she does. She'd definitely see the guy less if I asked her to, but that's just never been the dynamic we share. Update 1 month later. It's been a while since I made the post, but I figured I'd update you guys on this anyway, in case someone was still interested. I ended up burying my feelings again and decided to carry on with my life as if nothing had happened. Talking about it to a couple of people on here had really helped me pull myself together, at least for the time being. I did end up going to the park with her and the friend for a bit once and sort of watched their dynamic for a bit. Everything seemed normal. She mostly spent time with the baby, and he was sort of just there, keeping her company. Things had mostly gone back to normal when she called me at work and asked me to come home early. She'd never done this before and sounded pretty shaky, so I left almost immediately. I got home to find her having a breakdown in the apartment, while one of her old friends from her old job was there with the baby. Apparently, this guy had confessed his feelings to her. He said that he had loved her since they first started seeing each other, but had never felt like he was good enough. And now, because he had made something of himself, he finally felt worthy. He also said that he wasn't planning on saying anything originally, but had decided to because he felt that I was very detached, which was because of my anxiety. He had been offered a really good job abroad, which he was willing to turn down for her. She promptly told him to F off, but ended up having a breakdown because she realized that she had essentially lost touch with most of her friends, didn't really enjoy spending time with the women in her mommy group, and had noticed that I was being a bit distant. We had a really long talk that day, and I also showed her the post I'd made, as well as some of the chats I'd had with someone here, which add way more context. She was very understanding and called me silly for not just talking to her. I agree. So, we've basically decided that I should cut back a bit on my work hours, and she's going to try to reconnect with her friends a bit more. Currently, we're back in our hometown so we can see our families again, and they can meet the baby for the first time. My wife's doing much better, and she's already reconnected with a couple of her old friends. ScalingStories Corner. Yikes! Okay, maybe that's why we can't allow people to talk to their exes. I mean, no, people can. I mean, I was legit thinking as I was reading through the comments of the original post, like, I wouldn't be the type of person to be insecure that I wouldn't allow my partner to hang out with their ex. And then this crap happens. Like, oh my God. At least we didn't get a sad story where OP's wife felt feelings for the ex and decided to blow up her entire life with OP and their child. And yeah, this is also what I was meaning before in my first corner piece, that OP's wife had gone through so much with OP and has built so much that of course she values that over the high school ex who broke her heart and abandoned her. And that guy is also like, nah, like this guy hasn't changed at all. Or like he's still like a douche, I think. He sees the life that OP's wife has, like sees that she's married and has a kid, and thinks that the best possible choice he can try to do is break her and OP up. And he's going to turn down a super good opportunity in the process to get it done. Like, no, this guy's not mentally stable upstairs right now. It's like something's wrong. I'm glad OP and his wife were able to talk it out, and it seems like they're going to be in an even better place in their marriage going forward now. Now, here are some of the top/relevant comments from the update post. Commenter 1 says, Damn, a happy ending. I don't see those reported often. Congrats. Commenter 2 says, Guy's a total ass. He decided to go ahead and try to sabotage a relationship for his own selfish reasons. Tell her that if he cared for her, he would never put her in this situation. Selfish to the core. She should block him out of her life forever. Commenter 3 says, Women can always tell when there's something you're not telling them. My husband does this, but it makes things so much worse. His facial expressions are unintentionally colder, and he already has RBF. Okay, friends, so that concludes our first story of the day. Next up, we have a story from the relationships subreddit. It was posted by wifegoingcrazy on January 8th, 2016, and was titled, Me, 32 male, with my wife, 30 female, of 6 years. I believe she is gaslighting me and I don't know what to do. First and foremost, yes, I know this sounds ridiculous, and this will probably get downvoted as a troll post, but I sincerely don't know where to turn. I've never experienced anything like this. A little background, my wife has always been sort of a jokester. She has a great poker face, and I'm fairly gullible, so she'll feed me little innocuous lies pretty frequently and delights when I fall for them, but she's never kept the deception going for more than a day. She also got really into weird Twitter a few months ago, and her sense of humor has become pretty inscrutable and opaque to me, but until very recently, I've just considered it a sort of endearing quirk. So, anyway, for Christmas, my in-laws got us all of Battlestar Galactica on DVD. They were always raving about it, and neither of us had watched it. I had to leave for a business trip on the 30th, and my wife was sick, so we ended up just marathoning the whole thing before I left. Without giving too much away, the ending is a little heavy on the religious angle. I liked it, but my wife thought it ruined the entire show. I know the general consensus is it's a bit of a letdown, but I frankly felt it was pretty consistent with what the show had been building up to the whole time. My wife couldn't believe that I didn't feel the same way as she did. I wouldn't quite describe her as livid, but she was mad. I figured this was partially a reaction from her just being fed up from being sick for a week, but it was so out of character for her. We barely ever fight, and this was over something so trivial. She called me a moron and ended up tossing and turning after we went to bed, and eventually left to sleep on the couch. When I got up in the morning to head to the airport, she was still fast asleep, and when I gently shook her to say goodbye, she barely roused and didn't respond when I said I loved her. Fast forward to Monday. I got back from the trip. A friend picked me up from the airport because my wife had a class at the gym that she couldn't miss. We'd been texting while I was gone, and she apologized for being weird about things, and I thought everything was back to normal, but I found it a bit odd that she couldn't skip a gym session to grab me. I couldn't sleep on the plane, so I hit the hay when I got home. When I woke up, she was already awake and busy in the kitchen, which is bizarre since she doesn't work and usually doesn't wake until 10ish. I commented on this and hugged her and said good morning, and she basically responded with little grunts. I was about to leave when she handed me a brown lunch bag. She has never done this before, and said to me, "It's cold out there. Better hoagie down." I grabbed the bag and just said, "What?" And she walked to the bathroom and slammed the door. I was going to be late for a meeting, so I couldn't stick around to try and make sense of what was happening. After I got out, I texted her frantically to try and figure things out, but she kept responding like it never happened. Everything was fine. She loved me, and she asked me to please stop being so weird. When I got home, it was more of the same. I just assumed it must be one of her weird jokes and decided to leave it. Every morning this week, same exact thing. My wife is up, won't speak to me, hands me a brown bag lunch and says, "It's cold out there, better hoagie down," walks to the bathroom and slams the door. This morning, I had enough and yelled at her through the door, pleaded with her to stop, but she didn't say a word. Every night, it's been the same thing. Didn't happen. What are you talking about? You're being crazy. None of this is happening. She's been legitimately angry with me, and for the last few nights, we haven't been sleeping together. I heard her talking to her mother about this on the phone. I seriously have no idea what to do. I brought up couples counseling, and she was incredulous. Is this some weird Twitter thing or new meme that I don't know about? Even if it is, she's taking this way too far. I don't know how I'm going to spend a weekend at home with her. Does anyone have any advice? Scaling Stories Corner. So first off, I think I might be missing some important context here. I've never watched Battlestar Galactica before. So is hoagie down like a term they used in that show? And is she somehow referencing it here? Someone let me know if that's the case. But besides that, like OP's wife is going way too far on the local side. If this was me, after the first time it happens, it's like, haha, nice joke, really funny, you know? But then to keep on doing it and then pretend like it's not happening and being all serious and angry at me and acting like I'm the crazy one, like, nah, something's really wrong with you. Like, we need to go see a doctor ASAP or something if you're not going to confess to what you're doing. I'm going to call friends and family and tell them about your behavior because this is really concerning. We're supposed to be in a happy, loving relationship. And either you're really committed to the bit and you obviously don't know when to stop and it's really going to implode our marriage, or you're actually crazy. So either way, like an intervention needs to happen if I wanted a happy relationship. Now, here are some of the top/relevant comments from the original post. Commenter 1 says, film her on your phone. OP says, I did this on Wednesday, and her response was, that was a cute video, and she wouldn't talk about it anymore. Commenter 2 says, it sounds like to me she's having mental issues. Seriously, who does this? You need to take some power back. Don't take the sandwich. OP says she hasn't actually put any sandwiches in the bag. One day, it was a muffin. Another, it was 3 bananas. You're right, I really shouldn't take the bag, but she just had these, like, weird dead eyes when she hands it to me. I'm sort of afraid of her. I guess it's worth noting that my wife is larger than I am. I'm only 5'4", and I'm really worried about upsetting her. Commenter 3 says, is it just me, or is anyone else thinking, don't eat what's in the bag? She needs help. OP says, I haven't eaten anything she's given me, but it's been mostly fruit. Commenter 4 says, does she take an RX sleeping drug that starts with an A? My friend took them 8 years ago, and his wife called me, worried, because he would wake up in the middle of the night, turn the stove on, do things, go back to bed, and not remember. And I've read a lot of articles about this sleeping drug saying that people get up, go out, drive, and have accidents and have no memory of it. It's like they are sleepwalking. OP says she does not take that drug. No. She was taking Seroquel, SP?, in a low dosage for a while after dealing with a traumatic event, but that was over a year ago now. She does occasionally take Xanax for anxiety, also, but only occasionally. Commenter 5 says, quetiapine, Seroquel, is an antipsychotic and is also prescribed for schizophrenia. Are you certain what it was being prescribed for? OP says, I was aware of this when she started taking it, but she told me that her doctor said he was giving her a very low dosage and that, at a low dose, it worked as a sleep aid. I suppose there's a chance that she was lying about this, but she only took it for about 2 months, and it was helping her sleep? Commenter 6 says, what's weird Twitter? OP says, as I understand it, a bunch of people on Twitter make a lot of nonsense inside jokes. She shows me a bunch of tweets, but I don't get most of them. She'll try and explain them to me, but I guess that sort of takes the humor out of it. Commenter 7 says, does she do any video tweets? I don't use Twitter, so I have no idea. Or do Vine or anything? Like, do you think she's possibly recording you as part of a joke that she's sharing on weird Twitter or something? OP says, I checked her Twitter and I didn't see anything. Unless she has another account that I don't know about, which I guess is possible, although I don't know why she'd go through all the effort since she only has about 60 followers on her main account. Commenter 8 says, do you, by any chance, know what she said to her mother? Finding out whatever dialogue or information she has shared with her mother may reveal the information you need. At the very least, you could rule out any kind of sleep, psychotic, or personality disorders that are being brought up in the comments. If you have a good relationship with her mother, maybe consider exploring that avenue and inquire with the mother about any possible oddities that the mother may have perceived while sharing what has been going on between you two. OP says, I tried to get in contact with her parents twice today, but I just got voicemail. I left a message the second time, but it seems odd to me that I haven't heard back from them yet. They're both retired, and one of them is almost always home. She was telling her mother that I've been gaslighting her and that it's weird and out of character for me, and she's worried there might be something seriously wrong with me, and she's not sure what to do. I'm worried that her parents heard my message, but because their daughter talked to them first, they're operating under the assumption that I'm being delusional. OP adds an edit to his post. Thanks for the help, everyone. I've been up all night worrying, and I'm going to finally try to get some sleep. I'm taking the day off work. Going to try to have a serious discussion with my wife / her parents / and get a hold of her psychiatrist when I wake up, and will keep everyone posted. OP adds a second edit to his post. I woke up an hour ago with a huge headache. I went to the fridge to get a protein smoothie and saw that it had been cleared of what little food we had in there. My wife was not in the house. I got dressed and went to the door with the intent of going to get some food and saw a brown paper bag with, "It's cold out there. Better hoagie down," written in cursive taped to the door. I opened the bag and a can of ginger ale was in there. I went outside and her car is still there, but as far as I can tell, she took her wallet, keys, coat, etc. We live about 5 minutes outside of a nice town, and she likes to take long walks, so I'm assuming that's where she is. This has officially gone way too far. I'm going to wait an hour and see if she comes home or she or her parents return my calls. If not, I am driving to her parents' house to hopefully make some sense of the situation. I'm bringing the video of her and the bag. I will update tonight, hopefully. OP adds a third edit to his post. There is no sign of her. I got a call from her parents that was just the sounds of them arguing in the background and hung up after about 30 seconds. I have no idea what that's about. I'm driving there now. Update 4 days later. I made a second update that was also deleted because people were getting rowdy in the comments. People keep messaging me for the text, so here you go. The general consensus seemed to be split between me lying and this being a strange story. I guess decide for yourself. I tried posting this a couple of days ago, but apparently it got deleted due to formatting issues or something. Logged in just now via my brother's phone, currently inpatient, not supposed to have access to a phone, and saw that my inbox had blown up, so attempting to post again. Hopefully, this won't get eaten too. Not going to bother to edit, just copy pasting, so if the timeline seems off, read this as if it was a couple of days ago. I'm currently sedated, but I wanted to post this update because I don't know when I'll have a chance to next. The short of it is that my wife was not at fault here. I was. I've gotten into the habit of taking Benadryl to help me sleep through the night. My wife snores, and I'm allergic to her cats, so it makes sense. And over time, I've ended up taking more and more, to the point that some nights I'll take 5 or 6 if I'm having trouble breathing. I know this is probably really stupid, and it bit me in the ass. When I got home from the airport, all 3 of my wife's cats were on the bed. I searched my nightstand for some Benadryl and couldn't find any. I looked in my wife's drawer and found a bottle of hers. She is also allergic to her cats, go figure, but also gets allergy shots. It turns out that the Benadryl bottle was actually where she was keeping her old Seroquel. Both are pink, so I didn't give it a second thought. I popped 6. I went to sleep. This is, apparently, where everything unraveled. Fast forward to my driving to her parents' house. I started feeling incredibly dizzy about an hour out and pulled over. I sat in the car for a while, but the feeling didn't go away, so I decided to get a motel and confront them the next day. I took a handful of the Seroquel and went to sleep. I got up today in this weird mania. I got to her parents' place at 9ish. Her car was there, which didn't make any sense. I rang the doorbell, and her father opened the door. He was surprised to see me. I was sweating heavily and having a hard time speaking. My father-in-law has always been exceptionally kind to me, and he was sort of straddling the line between concern and terror. I didn't understand what was going on. I started crying. I brought out the paper bag and I tried to explain. I pulled out my phone to show him the video. My wife ran to the door with this pained expression on her face and asked me what I was doing, pleading with me to calm down. My father-in-law said I'd been terrorizing his daughter. He had no idea why I would do this. I didn't understand. She pulled out her phone and showed me a video. It was me, banging on the bathroom door, yelling at her to come out. She had clearly taken it from behind the couch in the living room. She showed me another of me just standing at the door before work, just staring at nothing. She showed me video of my behavior after I came home from work, and I was being much more aggressive and less cognate than I remembered. Apparently, she had left home Tuesday night. I was alone in the house for 2 days. I just collapsed. I pulled up the video on my phone, or I tried to. I couldn't find it. All I found were 16 odd pictures of the ground and my feet in quick succession. It was right around that point that I started experiencing this crippling dizziness and this feeling that I, can't quite describe as nauseous, but it felt like I couldn't sit still, and I was shaking, and I felt like no direction was up. The doctors told me this was called akathisia. Apparently, someone called an ambulance because I could not sit still and said I thought I was dying. At the hospital, I was barely able to talk and I couldn't concentrate, and I just wanted to sleep. They apparently pumped me full of Ativan, and I slept for 5 or 6 hours. When I came to, they started asking me a ton of questions. Once we got to medications I may have taken, I mentioned the Benadryl, and my wife realized what had happened and explained about the Seroquel. They're not entirely sure, but at this point, their best guess is that the Seroquel either put me into some manic state or triggered some underlying schizophrenia slash something slash I don't know. They don't really know how to explain the delusions and the hallucinations right now, but it's the best they've got at the moment. They asked if anyone in my family had a history of mental illness, and I responded that I didn't know. My parents are pretty old, and I don't know much about my grandparents. The dizziness started to roll over me again, and they gave me more Ativan, and I went back to sleep. While I was out, my wife contacted my parents. Apparently, my grandfather had a mean temper and suffered delusions from time to time, rambling about things that didn't make any sense and waking up at weird hours to do God knows what. He never got a diagnosis and died fairly young, but my mother and her family think it might have been schizophrenia. So, maybe something, maybe nothing. Who knows? So, right now, I'm sitting in the hospital. The doctor and my wife are throwing around a number of ideas. I'm going to see a psychiatrist who's going to make a determination about what the next step is, for sure. My wife is, rightfully, frightened of being around me in my current state, and while she doesn't appear to be mad at me, she says she would rather my brother look after me until I can get a proper diagnosis / get prescribed some medications. I have no idea where I came up with the phrase hoagie down. I was listening to a radio show that mentions hoagies and Philly a lot. The Best Show, formerly of WFMU, got the box set for Christmas, so maybe that's where I got it? But they never used the phrase specifically. I don't know. I have no idea. I guess I just want to thank everyone who tried to help. Sorry if this ended up being a time waster or anticlimactic or whatever. ScalingStories Corner. I'm just sort of speechless. Like, what? Huh? What is going on? I for sure thought the wife was in the territory of not pranking OP, and she was actually schizophrenic because of the Seroquel mention. And I remember that drug name because of a recent story from a different OP where her husband was going crazy and he was also taking that medication for schizophrenia. So I for sure thought that the wife was going through the same thing. But apparently it was all OP. I mean, is he even like lucid enough to be able to type that out? I have no idea. I mean, I guess it's possible. I don't know. I've never suffered from schizophrenia or like whatever that is. So I guess it's like you can make Reddit posts no matter what. That's just crazy though. Anyway, that post was from 2016. So I really hope things turned out better for OP since then. Now here are some of the top / relevant comments from the update post. Commenter 1 says, "Why didn't she call 911 and try to get you help instead of running away and leaving you alone for 2 days when you were clearly having some kind of episode? Thank God you didn't hurt yourself or anyone else." OP says, "OP's brother here. I was wondering this myself. My sister-in-law explained to me that she was scared and doesn't have fond memories of calling the police because she had a violent boyfriend in the past, and the police were very unhelpful, which just made her boyfriend angrier. She was freaking out and having panic attacks. I'm not totally sure why she didn't call after she made it to her parents. Maybe she was afraid my brother would come after her or something. I don't know." Commenter 2 says, "If you are allergic to cats, keep the cats out of the bedroom. Don't take 100 Benadryl." OP's brother says, "I agree with you. I was super surprised to find out he'd been taking so much Benadryl. My sister-in-law is super pushy about the cats, but my brother is an idiot for taking so much Benny." Commenter 3 says, "Your first post was very cognate, expressive, and clearly written. Is it possible to write like that while on Seroquel or having an episode like this?" OP's brother says, "I will say this. He has been writing and talking a lot, and normally, he's a fairly terse person. Some of his communicating has been absolute rambling, but a lot of it has been cognate. Sometimes he slips in and out." Okay, friends, so that concludes today's video. Leave a like and comment down below to let me know what you thought of it, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Take care.